Welcome to the Designated Drinker Show, the podcast that's raising the bar on craft cocktails. I am your host, Louise Solis, and with me is my very, very talented friend who is sometimes weird and always a bit wacky, the Mixtress DC Gina.
That's probably the most appropriate that you've ever given me. I am definitely weird.
Well, I think it's a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black, so I should be careful, yeah?
You know, I'm kind of like sitting here looking out the window right now and I'm watching a gopher go by and I'm like, why is that so intriguing to me? I don't know. Maybe I am weird.
Well, it's better to be weird than normal, I think. So,
yeah,
we both know that some things are just a little too hard to believe, right? Or just really tough to believe. And our world is, like we said, it's filled with wacky and fun facts. So I got a few for you, Gina. You ready?
All right.
All right. These are just fun. Do you know it would take you 19 minutes to fall from the North Pole to the Earth's core?
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. And then while you're on that safari in Africa, I want to make sure you don't take that little Porsche of yours. Because apparently a hippo's jaw can open wide enough to take in the entire car. So I wouldn't want that to happen to you. So don't take the Porsche on your safari.
Good thing I don't have one, but we're going with that.
Okay, and now here's a few more for you.
You gotta sell a lot of bagels for a Porsche, please.
All right, did you know that the Greenland shark has an average lifespan of 272 years.
No.
And they've actually it's recorded that they have lived as many as 500 years.
Wow. I didn't even know there was a thing called a Greenland shark.
Greenland shark.
So you said?
Greenland shark.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing.
And I got one more crazy fact for you. And this one's...
Does that shark sell shoes? I mean, I would know that person then if there was a brand of shoes.
But would it go 272 years, though? That would be interesting. That'd be a lot of shoes.
I mean, you know, good leather can last. Move on.
All right. This is the last one. And I don't think you want to make shoes out of this one. Do you know that Scotland's national animal, when I read this, I totally thought of you. Their national animal is a unicorn.
I know what their national flower is. It's a thistle.
And maybe those unicorns eat the thistle. I don't know, but that is that's recorded as their national animal.
So a unicorn. Well, it makes sense. Have you ever been to Scotland?
I have not, but I could see unicorns romping about, I would assume.
I mean, it is a very mythical medieval place, so maybe.
So,
all right. I'd love to know how you're going to tie this all in, but I'm into it. Go ahead.
You know, I work hard at this. I drink a lot and stay up late and write these. So, speaking of things that are hard to believe, can you believe today's designated drinker, who also may be a unicorn? He leads the digital content engagement for Uncle Nearest Distilling. He is Mac Newell. Welcome to the show, Mac.
Listen, I am thrilled to be here, especially after hearing those facts. Are you kidding me?
Are you a unicorn? Our listeners want to know.
I'm not a unicorn, but I do have something to add to unicorn.
Go.
Add it.
Yeah, we actually call our 1820 the unicorn.
Oh.
See, I knew that. That's why.
Well, that's why you said it. I mean, that's what I was thinking, at least. You know. Well, let me say this. I coined it the unicorn, and since then, I think the community has understood what we're saying by that. But the 1820 has become the unicorn for us. So yeah.
So tell us, well, I want to jump right in, and you already started there. Can you tell us a little bit about Uncle Nearest? Tell us the history and what you guys are all about.
Absolutely. First, I got to ask, how much do I have a lot of time to talk about that? Because it can be a long or a short story. I can give you the more abbreviated one.
No, we like a little bit long. We want to know.
Yeah, a little bit long. Okay, well, look.
This is your show, Mac.
Oh, then there you go. Look, we're going to take our time with this one, okay? I prefer, with whiskey, I prefer to take my time with everything. Now, we're doing vodka, a little bit different. But with whiskey, I like to take my time. So
Vodka's the quick and dirty.
There you go. And this is not going to be the quick and dirty. This is the old and slow. So the really cool thing about Uncle Nearest, I think that most people really got involved with, is the actual story of Uncle Nearest himself. For those that do not know the story of Uncle Nearest, of course, is easily found now on the internet, but I'll go ahead and touch on it. So Uncle Nearest, we believe, was born in 1820 in our area in Maryland. So in the DMV. But he was born in Maryland. We're not exactly sure exactly where, but we do know 1820 he was born in Maryland. From there, he came down to Lynchburg, Tennessee, to the Dan Call farm. Dan Call was a pastor that distilled whiskey. And I like to joke that a lot of people were excited about communion. I mean, I would imagine, they're like, hey, it's coming. It's going to be some good stuff today. Preach away. But no, actually, I'm not totally sure about that. But I do know that Dan Call wanted Uncle Nearest to teach his team how to make whiskey. And at this point, Uncle Nearest is already a notable figure for making whiskey, actually, which is really a unique story, I guess, in large amount of ways of looking at this, because Uncle Nearest at the time is a slave. So he's down there, he's teaching Dan Call's team how to make whiskey. And Dan Call says, look, I really want to see if we can get someone to take over this distillery, because his wife was kind of putting pressure on him because you can't be a pastor and distill whiskey. And she's like, look, you kind of got to make a decision here. And so he was like, all right, cool, no worries. And so they basically decided that they were going to give the distillery to someone, but they didn't know whom. So it was easy to see this young Jasper Daniels really taking to this older Uncle Nearest, and really took to him well, to the point they later became like a father-son relationship. But he was really taking to the lessons that he was getting from Uncle Nearest, and largely so. I mean, even though you're 9 years old, I get a lot of people like, come on, making whiskey at 9. But, look, there is no Nintendo Switch. There is no, none of this stuff exists. What else are you going to do but learn how to make whiskey? I mean,
and no child labor laws either.
Yeah, child labor laws, forget all that. That doesn't exist. Nobody cares about that stuff. So, so the good thing about it is, he's like learning from Uncle Nearest all this amazing craft. I mean, and it's a very action-filled craft in some ways. I mean, a lot, the fires are going on, all these things are happening. And so he really takes well to it, so much so that Uncle Nearest does tell Dan Call, look, your go-to person is going to be this young Jasper Daniels. I think this is who you're going to want to take this thing over. So, but Dan Call was like, cool, go for it. He was like, if you think that would be the guy, then go ahead, pour everything you can into him. See, I put that in there. Pour.
Yeah, I see that.
Oh,
good job. Good job, Brandon.
Good.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's like it.
Oh, we just getting started. So Uncle Nearest poured all he could into Jasper Daniels, and that's where that relationship really started becoming more than just a mentor relationship. It became much of like a father-son, because one thing people fail to kind of keep in mind is that Jasper is an orphan. And he's staying at the Dan Call farm to basically get bored and to boarding and to just work. But he grew up. He was an orphan kid, and so quickly Uncle Nearest became like a father figure. And I tell people this is the best American story for part of that reason, because, and I'm gonna keep going with that part, but I want you to see that connection of these different cultures coming together for a likely, experience in this product. And I think that alone really does kind of create this, Louise, we spoke about this earlier. When you're out at a bar and the people that you meet and you speak to, it's amazing the connection you make to people. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and I'll go into that, I guess, a little bit later, but that is kind of where that story goes into being the best American story I've ever heard. Because now, as Uncle Nearest teaches Jasper Daniels, Jasper does learn how to become a very good whiskey maker, so much so that he does eventually buy the distillery from Dan Call for, very low amount. And sure. And so Dan Call then allows him to get the run of the show, and they pretty much do what they do, and they ended up creating, of course, the biggest selling brand of whiskey that we know of today is Jack Daniels. But together they definitely perfected the Lincoln County process and created what we have known to be called now Tennessee whiskey. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. Yep. That's how it kind of all started.
It's crazy how some of that got lost too, and I think it's that you work for a wonderful brand that really brought that back to life and brings that forward, because for a billion reasons.
Yes.
that it's something that we should hear more of. So awesome.
Absolutely.
The truth of the spirit, Louise.
Hey, come on, Gina.
It's called the truth of the spirit, right? So you find out all of these facts that have been hidden because of one reason or another. and then prohibition, religion, segregation. It was crazy, but the truth of the matter is that like liquor, spirits have been bringing people of all people together
Walks.
forever.
Yeah.
So
That's very true. Absolutely. I mean, I think that's, one of the biggest things that we see, especially in our company. You have all walks of life. And the thing is, we're there for a story and a legacy, because one thing that Fawn was definitely big on, for those that do not know, Fawn Weaver, the CEO, president, founder of Uncle Nearest, amazing woman. I mean, I don't think they make superheroes any less fantastic than her, but no, her biggest thing was, we want to submit Uncle Nearest's name in history. And that's what we're here to do. It wasn't ever about becoming the biggest selling or best selling brand as we are, the most awarded brand as we are. But it wasn't that goal in mind to do this. It was simply to cement his name in history. And I believe day after day, that's exactly what not only our team is doing, but those that, become basically, these unofficial brand stewards of the brand after they sample and hear the story. That's what our goal is.
I think it's very true what you're saying, Mac. One thing that I like learning about Uncle Nearest, everybody thought it was a marketing scheme at first. Like, who is this person, right? Like, you made it up, and now you're telling me that Sailor Jerry's that you know what I mean? Like, you're going down that road of like who these people are, right?
Yes.
And when you finally find out, like, this is all real and relevant and all of that, it's kind of interesting. But to also see where your brand has come in such a short amount of time,
yes,
it's kind of amazing. Because like literally, I was on 495, and I do live in Washington D.C. Like, I live in Maryland, but I was driving on 495 in the DMV, and to see Uncle Nearest billboards on the sides of the delivery truck, I was like, oh, look at you guys go, because that's just showing how many people drive on 495 every day that maybe never even heard of that. And yet Jack Daniels could lose the name on the bottle, right? Jack Daniels could never have that bottle, the name on it ever again. And probably 8 out of 10 people of drinking age would know that black bottle with that shape is Jack Daniels. And I think that you guys are doing a great job on that trajectory of what Maker's Mark does too, to like, look, here's the bottle. Maybe there's no words, but you'll know that bottle because it's constantly in your face. So
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I just want to say that I'm glad you mentioned that, because there is a perspective that we on the team have of the company and where we are within the market. But of course, those that, aren't with the team or aren't with the company necessarily, to hear what you just said, that's huge. So I really do appreciate that.
I mean, I pay attention, right? I think you have to.
Yes, you do.
Not only being on this podcast, but with, a bar owner, you want to know what everyone's drinking, what they're doing, who's got what, what do you know about it? What don't you know about it?
Yes.
And it's our job. It's my job as a bartender too, to know what I'm giving you.
I love it.
But I got to tell you, I got these 2 glasses of whiskey sitting here, and I'm smelling it, and I'm thinking, can we get to one? Can we try one?
Yes, we can. So the one I tell you to start off with is actually the one that we came out with just recently, which is the 1884. And largely I say that because, of course, we're going 93 proof in the 1884 versus, 100 proof in the 1856. So I can give you just a little bit of info about it really quick, but every time I do it, I just got that smell. Oh my gosh. Anyway, the 1884 is aged a minimum of 7 years. Again, like I said, it's 93 proof. These barrels are hand selected by our founders, but the biggest part of this, the 1884, is to know that it's blended by our master blender, who's also the 5th generation Nearest Green descendant, Victoria Edie Butler. And Victoria, it's amazing. I don't know if you know much about her as a person, but we're going to talk about Victoria. I know you want to get this in your mouth right now, but we'll come back to Victoria. But she's a truly amazing person. So let's go ahead right now and just maybe get a nose on this thing. Now, you guys already know, I never like to tell people what they should smell, but I love to hear what you smell. So please.
To me, it's a little floral. It's got like a little, like, I'm obviously, you get the wood immediately and the vanilla notes, but it's got definitely a light hand of floral to it for sure.
Sure.
Gina's obviously, I'm just the novice. I definitely get those vanilla notes though.
And that's from the wood, which you should get.
Yes.
From
Definitely
any
tobacco.
aging. From any aging. Talk about, let's ask you a question. Tennessee whiskey, right? We don't follow any mash laws of like bourbon or anything like that, right? Is there any Tennessee whiskey law like that?
Meaning that what
it has to contain 51%
Oh
corn.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, yeah, absolutely. So we could take you through the ABCs of what we call the ABCFs to be honest.
okay.
But
Take me through it. I want to know what that means.
okay, really quick. This is some things that we kind of do. So so Tennessee whiskey by definition is a straight bourbon, right?
Yep.
But Tennessee whiskey does have to follow particulars. And that particular will come at the F. So right now, let me give you with the other ones that it has to be, which make it technically a bourbon. But of course, A, America, the bourbon must be made in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
B, barrels must be aged in a new charred oak container. Of course, container is normally going to be a barrel. C, corn. So bourbon must be at least 51% corn. Tennessee whiskey follows the same thing. And again, Tennessee whiskey follows all of these except bourbon is different from one particular thing. D, distillation. Bourbon, just like Tennessee whiskey, must be distilled no higher than 160, go into the barrels no higher than 125. And then the bottle can be no less than 80, right? 80 proof. E, extras. You cannot add anything extra except for pure water. Now, the one thing that makes Tennessee whiskey different from bourbon is filtration. So Tennessee whiskey has to do all those things I mentioned, but it also adds in that Lincoln County process. And so that additional step normally leads to a 6.5 month longer process. And of course, a longer process means more money, but at the same breath, it is definitely should be a much smoother experience when you have the sip. Now, the Lincoln County process is, the entire thing of why Uncle Nearest is such a huge part of this story is because he and Jack Daniels, of course, perfected Lincoln County process, but Lincoln County process is basically a filtration. And I tell you, for the lack of better terms, it's like a big Brita. It just basically filters out all of the impurities. The easier way to remember it. But it's so funny because when you tell this story, sometimes people are like, oh, I can actually, because it's a charcoal filtration process, okay?
Yep.
But we have said this before, and so we say, oh, I can actually taste that. I'm like, man, if you could taste a Brita, you're pretty good. I don't know. You might need to go somewhere, man. You made it. But basically, it just takes out the impurities. And again, this is largely a big part of what was important because that filtration process was originally created in West Africa. So when you're having this West African process of filtration, whether it be in Uncle Nearest, whether it be in Jack Daniels, whether it be in George Dickel, whatever it might be, any Tennessee whiskey, that filtration process was first created and introduced through a West African process of filtration.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and that's something. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people at that time, we glance over it, but when you if you were to just, when it boils down to it, when you're drinking Tennessee whiskey, the one thing that makes this different from a bourbon is a West African process of filtration. And it's just like, wow, that kind of then brings that whole circle of knowledge that you just got from Uncle Nearest back around to itself and go, oh, that's even more reason why this particular person is important to that entire category of whiskey.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. And what's really crazy about that whole thing is if you really think about where the birth of distillation started, there's the argument that the Egyptians started it, right?
Yes.
And then it all spread from that area. So that all would totally make sense.
It does. But I mean, heck, think about it. People supposedly originated from Africa.
Yeah.
So that area has always been a place where a lot of things started, but again, that's why I say the best American story. We're not, and I think the way people misunderstand this story is they quickly try to figure out, like most people, where do I fit in this story? And by doing that, you're excluding, or you're missing the point of the human collective story
Right.
that we're talking about. Even right now, you take a picture of the three of us on here, you're looking at a very different group. You know what I'm saying?
And for
From a lot of
so
different
many
walks of life.
reasons.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying though, but that matters. I mean, whether we're talking about Gina's Porsche or,
I wish I had a Porsche. No, you know what? I don't want a Porsche. I want enough money to buy a Porsche, and I'd probably donate the money because I'm such a crazy person. I'm
man, well listen, I'll keep my Venmo open if you feel
I know,
like doing
right? I did a lot of I do a lot.
You do.
But I love how you just described this. I actually wrote it all down because I really think this is something interesting to do, the ABC and then to the app.
Yeah.
Because I think it's an interesting way to process it, right? Like, of course I know, the law is a bourbon, and then is it a bourbon, and then you're done, right? But I don't think I really realized that it's funny when you said George Dickel, I started laughing. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, that stuff it's like candy because it's so sweet. And is it pumped with sugar? But maybe it is the filtration process that really strips out those, the little bit of the harshness of it, and then really allows the caramelization of the barrel to come through. And that's an interesting, I never knew that.
Yeah,
I really thought in my mind, and this is terrible, for some reason I always think that they put sugar or a residual sugar into Tennessee whiskeys because they are sweeter.
Yeah. And the thing about it is you find out with extras, there can be no other extras except for pure water. So, I do want to mention, I want to add a little bit more to that filtration process, because Uncle Nearest does two other things that make it a little bit more unique than just other Tennessee whiskeys. One is the coconut carbon mellowing, and the other is the diatomaceous earth filtration. And I have a little quick thing written up about both, so I wanted to kind of express those. But the coconut carbon mellowing, this is a filtration process that involves resting the whiskey in still tanks with natural carbon from coconut shells for 24 to 48 hours. And this process removes even more impurities found in the whiskey.
Oh, interesting.
Now, the diatomaceous earth filtration is a process that helps remove those fusel oils, the ones that give you the headaches. So those congeners, and that way, when you drink our different expressions, I like to say you're going to be able to wake up and go right to work tomorrow. But for those that kind of overindulge, that's a whole different story.
That was directly at me, right? That was like,
no, I didn't say that, Gina. No.
Tell me the second process, what it's called. I caught what it was, but what was it called again?
Yeah, diatomaceous earth. Yeah.
So if you can't say that without slurring, you can only, then that you have to stop drinking. I think that's the key. If you can't say that, then it's okay. You need to drink water and say goodnight.
Which is why I say this at the very beginning of this, because towards the end, who knows?
I literally have my notes on the side of here. I don't think I've ever taken as many notes during a podcast ever.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That's awesome. I don't know if you're going to get many more.
All right, let's go back to try. Sure. Now it's opened up even more.
Yeah. So you're right. So now that we got the nose on this whole thing, I think that the big thing about the nose, one thing I never did for the longest is when I smelled it, I would always close my mouth. But when I started smelling with my mouth open, it did make a big difference. I will admit that. But now you guys have already taken the sip, so let me get right into it. For those that are listening, I would definitely say when you do your first sip of Uncle Nearest, because of that 93 proof, it is a huge, big wallop of alcohol in there too with that flavor. So I would say definitely hold it. One thing we say is basically, create like a cup. Your tongue should create like a cup and just kind of hold that whiskey there, technically until your mouth starts to naturally water. But if you can't hold it that long, which I totally understand, 3 to 5 seconds, then swallow. But I would say this, don't let that first sip be what you, don't measure it or think of it that way. You need to go ahead and get a second, to be honest. So I always get my flavor from the second.
It's really smooth.
There you go. That's that Lincoln County process.
Nice round. It's nice. It hits you mid-palate. I'm kind of into that.
I think you're nailing it right there, Gina. It does hit you mid palate. It is nice and round. For me, this is a very easy taste. It's nothing to me that's, well, let me say this. One thing that I will say that I did get from the very beginning and I still get is I get those baker type of notes. Like we've said oatmeal cookie.
Yeah.
We've said things like that. So it has that sweeter notes on there for me. I get an oatmeal cookie. I always get the things you said before, the wood, the vanilla, all that stuff. The toffee I tend to get. I don't know, but that's also me. I love sweets.
I like that oatmeal cookie,
Yes.
like that raisiny
There you
kind
go.
of. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're talking about, that clovey, cardamom-y.
Clovey. Yeah, absolutely.
Not really clovey, I don't know, like allspice. Like allspice has that clove appeal to it, but it's allspice, like that drammy thing. That's what's kind of
There you go.
here.
I think you're nailing that. Yeah, it's one.
Do you think I have a future in booze?
Say it again.
Do you think I have a
I think
future
you
in
do.
booze?
I think you might have just, we'll have to see. You still need to get a little bit more practice and get a little more refined.
I gotta get older.
Hey, man,
that's the
goodness
deal,
gracious.
right? And then they'll be like, "Oh, Gina, she's so wise because she's old as
You know
fuck
what?
now."
I'll tell you what. This is one of the most beautiful things about working in this industry, right? You have a future at the age of 70. You know what I mean? You can
Yeah.
still be in this business and do well. So, but I do like this because I think that
As long as your liver is still holding up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why you do like you said, Louise. You go ahead and make sure you get that water in. I mean, look, I can't do these tastings every day. I mean, I could, but we'll see how that might go.
Yeah. Should we?
You want to go and try the 56?
What do you think, Gina? You ready?
I am ready. I can't stop writing stuff down, so I apologize. I don't normally take notes, Louise. Okay.
I know. I'm on this at every show with you, Gina. I've never seen you write anything down, Mitch.
I'm flattered.
Let me ask you this. So, as average consumer standing there, gets both bottles.
I've gone on to
I see them. That's awesome.
Whoa.
How would you recommend somebody drinking this?
Good point.
The 1884.
Okay. Right. So I think the average consumer, to me, the 1884 is a good for and I'm only saying this based on our expressions.
Yep.
So based on the expressions that we have, and largely it's these two. I mean, we do have that third expression, the 1820, the unicorn, which I'll talk about. But between these two, I like to say that the 1884 is the social butterfly. The 1884, if you're going to create a cocktail, the 1884 is the one you want. It parties well with others. I think that the 56, when you have it next, to me, now I love to drink straight. I love to drink neat. But the 56 to me gives me exactly what I want neat. When I do mix it in a cocktail, there's nothing wrong with it. It's still fine. But as a neat sip, the 56 stands up so well depending on, and again, this is something that's not just me. I mean, we are the most awarded brand of bourbon or American whiskey for 2019 and 2020 for a reason.
Congratulations.
And I remember a lot of this people always say, oh, well, that's because of your story. No. These are blind tastings. So people don't know what they're drinking. They just go, oh, this gets the gold, this gets the double gold, whatever. And I think that's largely because next, when you get into the 56, you'll see what I'm saying. I think the body and the strength of the 56 holds you in a different kind of way. The 84, social, good cocktail mix, also good neat, but I think on ice is good too. But this 56 has a little bit more of an oomph to it. Of course, it is 100 proof. I will admit,
my fave. I love, I like all whiskey, like around 100, 101.
Yes.
102.
That is.
For me, that's the sweet spot. It's like, I like bonded. It's just good for me. It just works for me.
Well, I think you nailed it also with that. Is because a lot of those that are going to be around that time, around that proof are going to be a little bit older as well. And you can even see with the 56, the color difference than the 84. So our 1856 is aged around 8 to 14 years. We like to say it's an 8-year-old with 14-year-old characteristics. But it is, It is definitely 100 proof. I failed to mention 1884 is the year we believe these years matter to us. Okay. Because some people always think, oh, this wasn't made in 1884. It was made in 2000. Okay. Gotcha. That's not why we put this number on the bottle. The number 1884 signifies the year we believe Uncle Nearest last put whiskey in a barrel. And the 1856 is the year we believe, the year that the Lincoln County process was perfected. So, and if you note this other thing about the label, when you see our labeling, the year again, this is so cool, actually. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. So the year, you see this first, it's big, right? But that year connects to Uncle Nearest, connects to his history at the Dan Call Farm. Okay, now this is something I just say. I don't know if this is how they actually thought about it, but if you look at every bottle, it's a story in itself. So if you're saying, if you want to tell this story, first look at the year, then think about Uncle Nearest and think about how that connects to the Dan Call Farm, because that's kind of how it does it. So 1856, the year Uncle Nearest perfected the Lincoln County process, with his connection to Jack Daniels that he met at the Dan Call Farm, and it all kind of gives you that flow of a story constantly. You're constantly hit with story with this, but sorry.
No, it's good.
I love how he's a whiskey geek and then the brand geek. Gina, he's like the perfect combination for you and I. He's like, if you and I had a child, it would be Mac.
Let's do it. It's me. I take that. I'll take that any day. If I have two gorgeous mothers like this, are you kidding me? That love to drink whiskey? Oh my gosh.
Like whiskey drinking moms.
Exactly. My mom they didn't feed me milk. They fed me whiskey. I love it. So this 56, I mean, even the nose on it. Now you're going to get a large amount of similar, but I think you're going to start going a little bit. It's going to open up to different places, right? This is kind of like a bigger tree, I think, in some ways. But again, let me know your experience.
It's going to sound ridiculous, but it's chewy to me. Like that's really like it's chewy. I'm like, it's chewy.
Oh no,
It's good.
When you say that, are you also referring to after you drink it, the way your mouth is still watery? Slightly, or no?
Yeah, but I feel like it's chewy. Like I could almost bite it if this was like a biteable thing.
Oh,
it's chewy. It's good. It's got meat to it. It's more than round. It's meaty. That's not a real term in whiskey knowledge, but I like to say meaty.
Hey, look, it's a term if you say it.
It looks like I'm describing a steak. It's very chewy.
But no, that's good. I think. Listen, if anybody in whiskey would not want their whiskey to seem like a steak. I mean, a steak is a good thing to go ahead and say it is. I mean, it's chewy, it's flavorful. But I think that you're also talking about or referring to even that density in the flavor profiles. I mean, there's a little bit more of a density and weight to this one. And I mean, there's a large amount that 100 proof, you're going to feel it.
Yeah. It also delivers, right? So you're getting those floral notes still, like some more subtle, more vanilla now. But it's delivering like a little bit. You expect it by the smell to be a little softer than it is, and then it comes bold right at you. So it's good. I mean, I feel like it's nice.
It's bold, but in a really nice way. I mean, it's still has that's what I'm saying. It still has its floral like characteristic, a lot of vanilla, like more vanilla, like blossomy than just the wood. And then it's big.
It is.
And yet it finishes so smooth.
That's the thing I think when I first had it was the thing that sold me was the finish.
Yeah.
I mean, more than just the palate on it. The palate was amazing. I mean, some people have even told us things like, which are the more difficult ones to hit, but after you hear it, marzipan. If you can get marzipan out of that, I mean, it takes a while, but I'm like, oh yeah. But marzipan, the butterier notes in both of these. I mean, but I think for me, and enjoying whiskey the way that I learned it, and I learned it through just stealing whiskey out of my dad's cupboard. since I was probably 13. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening, but I remember kind of just going through that. My dad was a whiskey man, definitely a Jack Daniels man. And I just remember, because I was actually a Scotch person before I got into bourbons.
Nothing wrong with that.
I know, nothing wrong with a good Scotch, right? I was a Highland Scotch preference for quite some time. But this one, you're right. I think it has that meatiness. I think it has that complexity, that heat and that sweet by that smooth finish.
I think when you for me, you pulled it together because, again, I'm the novice here. When you said the buttery, I'm like, oh, I definitely get butter. And I think for me, that's where I get that chewy mouth feel that Gina's talking about, where it's that space. It's really, it is. And I'm not a whiskey drinker I enjoy it, but I mean, it's not my go-to. And this is really good.
Thank you so much, Louise. I appreciate it. One thing that helped me, for those that are non-whiskey drinkers, if you get really good at being able to hold it in your mouth and like kind of let it move around your tongue as you kind of salivate. I know it sounds crazy, and I think don't want to sound bad.
I am biting my tongue because there's about 18 jokes.
I can imagine. Yeah, it's a lot of jokes that could pop out of that one. But I think that if you get really good at that part of whiskey, for one, it is, let me go ahead and express this real quick. But I think for those non-whiskey drinkers, there is definitely a lifestyle or maybe a practice that a lot of whiskey drinkers kind of do that's similar to like the wine drinkers, right? So you kind of let that whiskey really give itself a time to almost bond with your body, in a way. Like let it bond in your mouth. It sounds weird, yeah. And again, I know all my comments always kind of.
That's got a connotation there.
I'm telling you, I'm trying my best not to. I don't know. Maybe it's all in my head.
It is springtime, guys.
It is springtime, right? The most fertile time in the
summer loving had me up last. Yeah, that's where we're at now.
But I think if you really let it connect and you give it that time, I mean, one thing about whiskey is it should take you a while to drink a 2-finger pour. That's the goal. You don't want to have to keep getting another drink and another drink and another drink. You want to be able to have a drink that can last you through a conversation. And I think this is one that definitely stands up well.
I think you're right. I think this is gonna be a long afternoon for me. But I'll just keep this going.
Yeah, I mean, it's a night. That's what I miss the most about this COVID time, is being able to sit down at a bar and have a lengthy conversation, not be in a rush to go here or go there. And during that time, I don't want to have to keep ordering. Give me another one. Give me another one. Give me another one. If I can sit down and have something that I can actually do, like Louise, I can hold that glass. And I'm a very much touchy-feely. So even having my ring.
Yeah.
Hit that glass. I love it. I love being able to feel the weight of a nice glass, a nice tumbler. I like being able to look at the color, going back to the smell, almost smoking it a little bit, and that even being a satisfaction.
I mean,
versus just the sip.
This is going.
It's taking the whiskey to an experience as opposed to just a drink.
Bingo.
For real.
There we go.
I'm looking.
There we
Look
go.
at me dropping knowledge.
All right.
Yes, I love it.
All right, it's cocktail time, Gina?
I mean, I don't know what's going on right now. Literally, I now had like more sips than I should have. 100% of my face is red. I feel it for sure. The sun is now starting to beat in on my window, so I'm like, it's hot in here. Is it me? I don't know.
There you go.
I know.
I love that you said that though, Gina. The physical reaction to it, I love as well. I love how it warms me up no matter what.
And I'm like, what's happening? But I'm into it. Like I'm totally into it. So all of that being said, we'll get ourselves ready to make a cocktail here.
I'm gonna tell you, I feel so bad because I don't have my ingredients.
Don't worry about it. I'm gonna make the cocktail. We're gonna make it for everybody at home and try the cocktail later on. And this is a super easy one because I felt like that Uncle Nearest, the 1884, was a really great substitute for doing iced coffee drinks. And I'm going to be honest, I love iced coffee. I live and breathe it like literally all year. It could be snowing. I love putting a little whiskey in there, whether it's bourbon or scotch or Jack or whatever, just a little kicker. I have been known before I had children to maybe drink those while I was still working on the line. I don't do that anymore. I have children now, so mommy's not a booze bag. Or she is. I don't know. All right. So here it is. I'm going to move this down and we're just going to go through the drink really fast. It's a quickie.
Yes.
And it's great. I'm going to use my 1884 for this. So, I'm going to bring this back a little bit old school for everybody. So one of the things that I love about espresso and I grew up in New York, and having these cold coffee drinks was that, if you ever went to like the little cafes and stuff, they always give you a piece of lemon, right? Well, lemon, coffee, and whiskey, I mean, hello. It's like all a no-brainer, right? So this cocktail is 2 ounces of Uncle Nearest, the 1884. And then we're going to put in there 2 ounces of cold espresso. Please don't make this drink with hot coffee. Just make the coffee, let it chill, put it in your refrigerator, make it the day before, make a picture of it for your friends the day before, and then use it, right? Don't try to do this last minute. Then we're going to use, and this is really up to you and if you want to, an ounce of vanilla syrup. And you could use, you could use any really honey. Use honey with coffee, which I think is really lovely. Maple syrup with coffee, also really lovely. Or vanilla syrup or hazelnut. It's kind of really up to you. Just something to lightly sweeten it. And then this is going to be important. And I normally tell everybody to, you could just squeeze a little bit of your lemon juice using a hand squeezer. This is the first time I'm going to say, you really need to measure because you only need a 1/4 ounce of fresh squeezed lemon juice. So I'm going to squeeze it into my jigger to make sure that we have a 1/4 ounce. Because any more than that, you're going to lose the flavor of the whiskey between the coffee and you're going to lose all that beautiful notes. So you have a 1/4 ounce of fresh lemon juice. And then we're going to fill our shaker top with 3 full of ice. And that's 3/4 full in your shaker. And now we're going to shake.
I wish I had this. I so wish I had it.
One of the things you have to make sure when you're doing this drink is you can write your name on your shaker tin. It's nice and icy. Then your drink is ready. If it is not, then you need to shake some more. And I'm going to just show you that your top should be nice and frothy because you're really looking for that head. And, a lot of people would say maybe that's what he said. But in this day and age, you have to say that's what them said. So there you go.
There you go. Nice,
right.
nice.
So we're gonna pour our frothy, foamy, delicious, lemony Uncle Nearest vanilla coffee drink, which I think is really lovely for summer. And if you did it right, you're gonna get this nice foam on top. And no, there's no egg in it, and we're not really, adding too much more to it. And here's something we could do. Let's show you. Is for garnish on here, you're putting the garnish on to garnish. You're not really using this garnish to do anything much more than that. So you could take your knife and you can just kind of run down the side. You're really trying not to get any pith on this because you're really just looking for the oil. And we're going to cut it. And of course, we're going to cut it one more time because I want to make it look pretty. One more time. And now you're just going to fan these a little bit. And if I'm trying to do this and not cut my hand off, here we go. And we're just going to give it a little peacock feather, if you will. Because we're going to show off a little bit that, we really love our drink. It can hang out on there. And, of course, you can have your fun with your lemon and however you want to do it. But I'm going to do mine little bit like that. And that's it. Ooh. And if you really have time to stick it to it, you could really just, span it out and do whatever. So here we go.
Did it.
Let me say.
Oh.
Let me say. Good job.
Yes, you did.
She really is getting better than me. I'm going to quit soon. All right.
Except they're all her recipes and I slowly watch her.
Cheers.
Perfect.
Mac, you're missing out.
I wish I had your sip.
You're
though.
missing out.
I know. Listen, I'm getting mine tonight, no doubt, because I am trust me, I'm a coffee guy.
Babe, I have the card for you.
Well, she made this just for you.
I know. I'm going to get it.
Don't worry. When you are ready, it'll be on designateddrinker.show. That's designateddrinker.show. All of Gina's tricks and trips and all the other tippa-tuppas will be there on how to make this cocktail and all the rest.
And all of the blah, 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 blah.
That's what happens.
It's like an episode of Snoopy here.
Exactly.
I know all the adults are like, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Charles Schultz just knew that everyone was drunk as adults and the kids only heard them slurring.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Good point.
So on your smartphone, all you have to do is swipe up and you'll have those all those notes, the links to get to the website, to get to the recipes. But we'll also make sure that you have the link to get to Uncle Nearest so you can learn more about the whiskeys and find out where you can get it.
Yay.
Housekeeping.
I love it.
All right.
So in this day and age, everybody identifies themselves as some sort of spirited animal, either being mythical, like the unicorn, and you identify with the magical being of it and all those things. If you can identify yourself as one spirit ingredient, whether it's in cocktails or in food, what would you be and why?
And you're saying me as an ingredient or not?
Yeah, what ingredient defined you?
Wow. Oh my gosh, that is a huge question because that's something I never had to think about. Let me say this first. I am a man of, I could eat the same food every day for a week, but I cannot necessarily, I'm pickier in my drinks. So, gosh, that's hard. Gosh, man, I was about to say corn, but the problem with corn is you can't digest it. So I think you can digest me. Damn it, I hope that's not another innuendo. But I think you can digest me, so it wouldn't be corn. So
no, I like corn. Why couldn't you be juicy and sweet and versatile?
That's what I was thinking. So all that you just said, let's go with that, because I'll probably keep thinking, and you guys don't have enough time.
We can add to that later. Every time when we post your episode, you can be like, maybe I'm not corn. I am fava beans because.
I love it.
Well, thank you for being here with us, Mac. And this is amazing. And I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna finish this, and I'm gonna probably do one of these. So I'm not really sure. But cheers.
I love it.
Cheers. Thanks for bringing the amazing product and bringing so much knowledge and helping us understand everything that's happening at Uncle Nearest. And can't wait to hang out.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies. Thanks, moms.
Cheers.
See you. Cheers.
The Designated Drinker Show is produced by Missing Link, a podcast media company that is dedicated to connecting people to intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Also in the Missing Link lineup of podcasts is Rodger That, a podcast dedicated to guiding you through the haze of dementia, led by skilled caregivers Bobbi and Mike Carducci. Now, if you're looking for a whole new way to enjoy the theater, check out Between Acts, an immersive audio theater podcast experience. Each episode takes you on a spellbinding journey through the works of newfound playwrights, from dramas to comedies and everything in between. Find Missing Link's League of Podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. Please don't forget to subscribe, download, and review the shows. Your review helps our shows reach new audiences. To find out more about Missing Link, visit missinglink.company. That's missinglink.company.